Hello, welcome Pebbleheads, welcome to the PebbleCast. We are going to get into it right now, but I am Lunar, I'm your host. I'm here with Drowned.
Hello, I'm the one that's trapped in the basement.
Yes, he is indeed trapped in my basement. I can't say that, I'm a Belgian, don't look that up. Anyway, as you might have noticed, Minecraft has turned 15 years, so we're going to be talking about that. But first, what are we?
What are we? Two white guys doing a podcast, apparently.
We are the meme. We are literally the
Yeah.
meme. We are literally the meme. You might have known me. I'm Lunar. I do Cygnus MC. I'm a Minecraft journalist, aka I have no life. And I now also do a podcast, so I can complete the cycle and eventually turn into a Minecraft speedrunner who cheats in its runs. And maybe John can give a little introduction because you might not have seen him. He does actually all my background footage, and I'll leave the rest up to him.
And so I am a what's the word for it? I forget the word for it. It's video essay creator. I work on video essays, go into like game design and specifically in horror, and I also do streaming as well, and I'm a VTuber. So
yeah, we noticed the VTuber. I have officially entered VTubing hell.
Yes, it's great. Welcome to the collection of people that
no VTubers.
Collaborate VTubers, I guess.
You want a high five? Oh yeah, wait, you don't have hands.
No hands. The hands are tied down. Tied me down in the basement.
Look, I have hands, man. Come on.
I can do that. That's about as best I can do. But yeah, I also do have a bit of a background within Minecraft. Been doing server stuff and building and that sort of stuff for a couple of years now. More out of it now, but still have some knowledge within it.
Yeah, I thought we start off with like Minecraft's 15 now. Like, holy shit, that is.
We're old.
Yeah, we're old. I'm getting old. I still remember when it released. I was 10.
Crumbling at the thought of time passage.
My gums are turning into dust. I thought we might start with saying where we got our start in Minecraft.
God, well, I started. I remember I had a friend who actually had the same name as me, but he had shown me Minecraft. I was playing on his account. I remember fondly that he had a Assassin's Creed skin, Ezio, I think it was. And
yeah,
I thought the game was so cool, and I begged my parents to buy the game. I was like 10 or probably 8 actually, and of course I didn't have a good enough PC to run the game, so we ended up getting the Xbox edition, Xbox 360. And I was playing with my brother, and I remember the first day we played, we built a really terrible brick house within a swamp biome, and it was great fun. It was amazing, and sort of got hooked ever since. Eventually bought the PC edition. And yeah, just kind of went on from there. I don't play as much anymore, but still kind of engrossed within the technical side of it, and also the modding community, the building community, and that sort of stuff. I don't really play the game as much anymore, though.
Yeah, I had a similar start. I started like when Minecraft 1.0 dropped to 1.4, I think. It was on my radar when 1.0 because like one guy in school kept talking about it and I didn't know what it was. Like he was like talking about Minecraft levels, and I thought they were actually like level ups like an RPG. So he was like, "Oh yeah, well, how many Minecraft levels do you have?" I'm like, "Oh, I've been level 34 for the last 5 days." And I'm like, does that matter? I don't know. And then I bought it in 1.4. And then I got onto his server immediately. Never played single player. I just immediately went on this server. And then I built I made like friends with someone on that server. I made like a nice little house. I actually have footage of that. It will be up in a little bit. And I made like a nice little house, and I made like a nice little tower. And then that guy never came along again, and it was the first feeling of betrayal I've ever had. And ever since then, I've been involved with the Minecraft online scene. Moved on to hosting servers for myself, and then moved on to the biggest server of the Benelux. And now I'm still doing Minecraft, even though I haven't played the game in about a month or 3 months.
I mean, to be fair, we all have a story of like starting up a server with friends and then just they never log on. And you just like, why don't even bother? Why don't not just make like a single player world?
It's the 3-month cycle. People call it the 3-month cycle. Every 3 months, you feel like
It's
playing
just
Minecraft.
every few months you're like, oh yeah, Minecraft exists. Let's start a server up. We're gonna build like a big base. We're gonna do a village breeder setup, massive storage system. No one ever logs on again, and you just like left wandering on your own.
I mean, my Discord server has a Minecraft server right now, plug, and it
Whoa!
works.
How do you join
Whoa.
the Discord? How do you
Well,
join the
you
premium
just
server?
you just click that little button down there that shows you. I'm not gonna do the premium.
Whoa!
This isn't Cygnus MC.
It's better.
Yeah, it's not shit. Anyway,
Oh god.
I love self-deprecating humor.
I do love the fact how that like both of us, whilst we're still being majorly engrossed within the game, we don't actually play it anymore.
Nah, man, nah.
I mean, to be fair, most of the old players don't even play it anymore. They just like to complain on Twitter.
No, they're just shitting. We'll get into that, but you gotta admit that you recently changed your name from Minecraft Drowned to Drowned.
I mean, that was always like sort of the joke because I got the name from the reference of like a league character I like playing looks like a drowned mob. So I thought, hey, it's funny because there's like a big culture in League of Legends that like, oh, you have a one trick username that like represents the champion you play. So everyone knows, oh, you're amazing at that champion. I wasn't, but I thought it was cool anyway. So I ended up picking Minecraft Drowned and it just shortened it to Drowned and sort of went from there. It does work though because I can't swim.
It does work. It does work. Is he actually called? No, he's not called Drowned. Pike, right?
Yeah, Pike. That's the one.
Pike. Yeah, Pike.
And the username kind of just stuck because every other username I've had has been terrible.
I still remember the days of Jungle Pike. Those were some fun
That's
days.
a top Pike. You had like Wonder playing it against. Oh, what team was it? It was some team. I don't know. I'm waffling right now.
Yeah, you're waffling, but it's fine.
Waffling.
We're not the only ones who look back at Minecraft. We just watched those 2 videos Mojang put out on the Minecraft channel talking about the 15 years Minecraft. Some fucking nuts things happened. Like, they, for me, the most important thing that they talked about was the Microsoft acquisition. The fact that they kind of mentioned Notch by name. You mentioned while talking about it, like watching it, that
How
it was.
brave.
Yeah, well, how brave. And then talking about the updates and like the community's reaction to the updates. That's wild. But maybe first we'll talk with the Microsoft buyout because it's my channel and I say what we do.
Well, Microsoft obviously Microsoft is to blame for every single problem Minecraft currently has in this generation. I'm joking.
I mean, no,
I don't
we
know.
would think that, right? Like for a normal human being, no, we're so like used to Microsoft being a shit company, and it is a shit company. Fuck you, Windows 11. No, like explain to me the reason why you need a Wi-Fi connection to where you're fucking. Anyway,
I've disabled all that stuff. I spent way too long like disabling co-pilots. Like
Dude.
the recall feature they're adding is just like
Oh my
awful.
God.
I hate it so much.
So
We could
imagine
make an
that
entire episode
company.
on just that.
We should, but like imagine that company buying out your favorite game. You would be scared, and all the shitty things that they were doing. You would be right. They do own the IP. They actually own the IP. They own Mojang, but the fact of the matter is they don't involve themselves creatively because they did that in the past, and those studios went under, and they know that. And they talk about it in this clip because they say like the first year and a half we had almost no interaction with Microsoft. Keep in mind,
And the Microsoft event, the Microsoft event also wasn't really within the PC scene as much as it is now. With you got Game Pass and a huge push of like the Microsoft Store getting exclusives that are on the Xbox or the PC. Like right now, it's pretty. Microsoft had proven they're actually pretty good at releasing PC games, but at the time they didn't have that. All we had was that terrible Xbox Live Games PC subscription that just never worked and is now defunct, and you can't play any of the games that was added to it anymore. So Microsoft didn't have a good track record. So to be a fan and having your favorite game be purchased by a company like that who hasn't proven himself and doesn't have the medals to show that they can actually like make it work, it is of course going to be a scary thing. Like there's always going to be a bit of an overreaction, but you can't really blame them for that because at the end of the day, it was unknown territory. You didn't know what was going to happen, and it turned out pretty well actually.
Yeah,
All things
they did
considered.
pretty good. They did pretty good. I understand the reaction, but the reaction has been going on for the last what 7 years.
Yeah, it hasn't really stopped.
No,
People
people keep
people are still trying
blaming
to find a way to blame it.
because like we'll get to it later, but they keep saying like the updates suck, and it's like no, like in the video themselves they talk about Redstone, right? The Redstone update. I think the guy with the hat, the guy that does the announcements during the mob vote, he even said like, "Yo, Redstone changed the game for some people because that's the beauty of Minecraft. Some updates you can just continue playing as if nothing happened, and others you go absolutely wild because that's the whole point, right? Some updates are meant for certain player types and some are not."
I mean, I think it's also the case of the actual employees who work on the game do actually sort of think like us when it comes to how we play the game because they've referenced how the combat update 1.9, I believe, there was actually was very controversial in both the community and within the studio itself because they even recognized that hey, some people never updated past 1.9. They stayed on the 1.8 version because they enjoyed the combat, and within the video they actually talked about how they understood that and how the combat, like they never said it outright, but they sort of alluded that hey, maybe the combat system wasn't up to par and they maybe shouldn't have gone through with it, but they still sort of recognize that hey, there is updates where like you can go back and like you still have a great experience. But they also talk about how it's kind of upsetting that there's all these amazing features they're adding and some players just never get to experience them because they don't go past that update version they like. Like for me, for example, my favorite update was the update Aquatic because
Of
of
course.
the yeah, well the coral reefs and like all the different like fish types and just all of that. It made the world feel alive, and that's one of my favorite updates to go back to. And for some people, it's like the 1.8 version, or some people like the latest version because of all the new features, like the cherry blossom forests are beautiful, and I wish that was added earlier on so I could still experience them within the older updates, and I can understand why some people would stay back. But it does kind of prove that the devs probably think like us players. They actually do sympathize and understand why the players make certain decisions, but it asks the question of why is there such a lack of communication between the developers and the players? Because I theorize that 15 years of Minecraft mini documentary is probably the most amount of communication we've had between the developers and the
In
players
years.
in the 15 years of the game being out.
No, that's not true because in the early days even I got a response from Mojang because I was setting up a server and I had like an issue and I put it on like a forum, and even one of the Mojang guys, I lost it. It's like an old forum post. Do not fucking quote me on it. But he like reacted. I still remember that vividly because Mojang in the time was talking in the Reddit. They were talking on the forum pages. They were talking everywhere. Right up until the point Microsoft took over. Because, excuse me, because when Microsoft took over, they didn't really know what was happening themselves. So instead of like false promising stuff, which they end up doing later on down the road, they just keep quiet and keep to themselves and wait until it's like out. Like Jeb couldn't work on the Minecraft game. Like you have that chart and there's a large gap, and that's because during that time, the Microsoft deal was getting finalized, and they couldn't work on the game because if they would change the game, they would change the deal, because the deal is about Minecraft that with this code embedded into it. If they change that code, it would change the game, thus change the terms, thus
The
change
deal
the
would have to
deal.
be negotiated.
Exactly. So he couldn't work on it. Like they didn't even know if there was going to be a studio. They say it like in the video they didn't know if like Mojang was going to be keep being a thing, if they're all going to stay. Like they didn't know all that, so they didn't do anything because for a year, and then a year and a half after that, they were just still trying to get everything working. And after that, they got the update out. And then
Especially with the culture change within the studio after the
yeah, they
buyout.
mentioned that. Yes, they mentioned that.
Because
But
in the video they talked about how the studio was like kind of lax, and these like developers didn't have kids and have families at the time, so they would go into the studio and like between breaks of working on the game they would like mess around. They had pool tables, like a cinema room. They would like eat dinner together as like a studio, like sort of like a family away
yeah,
from
family.
family, and,
Yeah.
like eat dinner together and like hang out. And like there was a big, they were kind of worried that that culture would change with Microsoft's involvement, because they're going to want a more streamlined like professional workplace to like maximize their profits and well maximize the amount of work they get out. So there was a big, like, they had to sort through all of that as well, which is probably why the game was put in limbo for quite a while, actually.
Yeah. Like, and it's important to mention Minecraft developers play Minecraft. It's what you said earlier. Like, they are more in line with us than we think. They play Minecraft. Did you know that the Helldiver 2 developers don't even play Helldivers 2? They don't play that game.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
Helldiver.
I've heard about like you got like the developer doing like the D&D master, like controlling all the monsters and
Yeah.
the robots from like, and making sure like the game has always got something going on.
Yeah.
But apart from that, yeah, you just really, all you really have is community managers talking on Discord and
Yeah.
like
Developers
making
don't
balance
play.
decisions that maybe the community don't actually enjoy. And when you're developing a game, it's important that you actually involve yourself in the game, because when you're creating a game for yourself, that game is for you. That all the decisions you make are what you like. As soon as you press publish and someone else picks up that game and it starts to get traction, especially if you're charging people to play it, it starts to become more of like a, hey, you should be doing what the community wants, not what the developer wants. Like, of
Yeah.
course, the developer knows what's feasible and what isn't,
Yeah.
but if they add something that ruins the player experience, maybe then that shouldn't be added. Luckily, there hasn't been something like that in Minecraft. Like you've had certain people saying, "Oh, this update is like," especially with the going back to the combat
Combat.
update. People are saying like, "Oh, this game it ruined it." I actually kind of enjoyed the combat update. I can understand what they were doing of trying to add some more variety into the game, making it so there's different weapons, and they haven't actually abandoned that with the mace they're going to be adding soon. Like they're still adding new weapons and new ways to have combat, because the combat within the game was actually kind of shallow.
Oh, but
So I don't think it was.
drowned. They could modders do so much more work. Like they could do the same. They could add like 5 weapons instead of the mace. Why is Mojang not doing that?
It's, it's easy for us to theorize why that happens, but at the end of the day, we don't actually know what's
Yeah,
going on and
exactly.
what's like being developed internally within the game. There could be features that we don't know about that we've been asking for that are in the pipeline, because there's got to be setup for these stuff to be added. Like the Caves and Cliffs update, they talked about how they needed to add so much internal framework to help support these new features. I mean, they doubled the size of the world, like in the y-axis. The world is twice as big now, and that required a lot of rewriting and recoding. And it's difficult to
Like
fully understand what the developers are making, what they're actually going through.
if you've ever messed around with a 3D noise in a 3D game engine, you know how complicated that thing gets.
It's miserable.
It's miserable. I have tried that with like Blender, I think, at some point, or some 3D software. I wanted to make like a nice little terrain. No, it was Game Maker. I made all 3D blocks, and I wanted to make like, I was making Minecraft, but like in like when I was like 16, I was like, oh, I can make this game. And I tried to like make a 3D noise out of it. Holy fuck, man. It came out looking like an alien planet. The fact that Minecraft gets this kind of like natural, it looks familiar. They generate their terrain in a way that is familiar, and that's the kicker, right? Sometimes, okay, a floating island of dirt is not that familiar to us, but sometimes you get the spot, like the spot. You go there and you see like a nice little cliff surrounded by mountains and like a nice valley at the bottom, and it's like a waterfall. And you're like, yes, Yes,
Yes,
this
the
is the
interesting
spot.
generation.
Yes. And the fact that they can achieve this on multiple seeds with just a seed is an achievement in and of itself.
Mm.
It's like
And
kind
it's
of a monkey typewriter scenario. It will eventually happen, but it happens every time.
mm. And the game is simple in the front end, but in the back end is a whole mess of just Java. I hate Java so much. Anyone who's worked with Java knows how miserable it is, and it is a wonder that the game is even still updated as it is. Because people need to keep in mind that they made Bedrock Edition with the hopes that it would phase out Java Edition, but now it's kind of become the opposite, where the Bedrock has become its own separate entity, and you're having parity within Java and Bedrock, which of course is going to double the dev time between updates because it's two completely different engines. They're completely different code bases. You got to make
Well,
sure
Mike,
everything works exactly the same between the versions. And sometimes that doesn't even happen. There are
nope.
some like weird quirks and interesting features that Bedrock has that Java doesn't, and vice versa. And it's interesting the thought process behind having both versions like running at the same time, because the cost effectiveness is probably not there. It'd probably be actually cheaper and more effective to kill off the Java version and run the Bedrock edition, but they continue to keep the Java version running to help the players and to support the players, because that's what the players want. It's a player driven decision first, which is honestly quite rare from a company like Microsoft.
Yep. And
And
especially if they keep out of stuff. But I don't know if it is. Was it confirmed that Bedrock was made to phase out Java? Because I don't think that was ever confirmed.
I think that was the original intention, because they were trying to make it like they were trying to make the Bedrock version the like de facto edition of like, hey, this could run on anything and everything, because it's notoriously hard to get Java on PC, so it's going to be harder to get it on mobile and console, because it logically makes sense to have a version that can play on all different platforms, cross progression, cross like play, and they got the store as well, because I'm sure they would love it if they could get the Bedrock store on Java to add a bit more income within the game.
Microsoft would love that, and the fact
And
that that
also
hasn't happened yet.
the server browser is way more protected, because there's always been problems with Minecraft servers having predatory microtransactions and sketchy going on, and like, you've got 2B2T and those anarchy servers, which are advertised as, hey, you could go on and be like, do whatever you want, be the most disgusting person if you want to, feel free to like say and do what you want. And obviously, with the blow up of that sort of like server structure, it obviously isn't going to look good on Microsoft's behalf, because that's their game that is fostering these like terrible like things that like also go against the EULA sometimes. And the server browser within the Bedrock edition should solve that, because of the partnering with like servers like Hive. But Hive, is Hive shut down? The PC edition is shut down.
Hive is shut down on the
Yeah,
PC.
and you had
Yes,
like Mindplex and
which was
Cube
also
Network.
shut down. That also
Yeah,
shut down.
but like these servers were partnered officially with Microsoft. They were held with a tight leash. Granted, that didn't really work, and there was a big problem with that. I
Yep.
remember reading up about all of that. But the logic is there of trying to keep Minecraft sort of like in a closed network. They are pretty much doubling the amount of resources they need in order to keep both games supported. It logically just doesn't make much sense, apart from the logic of being player first. It's
Yeah.
so when people accuse the Microsoft and the developers of not caring for the game, you got to keep in mind as well that, hey, you've been getting free updates for how many years now, and they
Yeah.
have every opportunity to kill off your version of the game and put you in an ecosystem that thrives on microtransactions and more censorship, and they don't do that because they know that's not what's good for the player. It's only good what's good for them.
I think this is my tinfoil hat theory, right? So there are two reasons why you would make a new version of a new engine, basically in Overwatch 2, right? Keep the investors happy and redo some of the things that you couldn't do from the beginning, right? Know what went wrong, fix that from the base. Bedrock, when Bedrock was being made, they hired some of the industry's leading game designers, not game designers, as Jeb, leading programmers, leading leader, like in their field, they were top stars. Like if you look at Mojang Redmond, they are an elite group of individuals who work there. Like higher ups, they are there. They know what they're doing. When Mojang started, Mojang Sweden, they didn't. So they would. I think it started as an idea from like we'll just remake from scratch Minecraft on an actual engine this time, because remember Java doesn't have an engine. We'll make it into an engine and then do that. And then my tinfoil theory here is like Microsoft obviously wants this franchise to make them money. So if Mojang was like, hey, let's just put all the microtransaction and all the predatory and the censorship that Microsoft wants onto Bedrock, we can keep Java free from that shit. And of course, they have probably had to concede with the chat report and the skin report just to keep the higher ups happy, because Microsoft is not all holy, but they're not the reason of everything bad, right? Some of these decisions are still Mojang's, but I think at the end of the day, if we give them a little bit of credit and what we see, we've seen this team throughout its years always going for their players, always. There's never been a moment where one of the Microsoft employees or Mojang employees or anyone at Mojang did something anti-consumerism, except for the transaction, but that the account migration, but that was also, I think, well, that was needed. Like, let's be honest,
that was forced hand. I don't think that was
forced and also needed, because you could just literally get an account hacked with just your, like, you could stick a
Mojang's accounts were not very good.
They were not.
I lost my email account and I was able to recover my account and get the email swapped without even needing to prove that the email account was mine.
Exactly
so
my fucking point.
Exactly my fucking point. Those Mojang accounts were awful and sort of redundant, because they was like, oh, we'll have Mojang accounts because we've got a bunch of other games we're developing. No, none of them came out.
No,
came
like,
out, so it's
you had to log
Minecraft.
in. You had to log into your Microsoft account in order to get dungeons, to get legends, to get Bedrock, to get Java. With the Java version, you can only use the Mojang account or why the fuck would you not just switch to Microsoft's account?
Yeah.
Like, it's just easier.
It's just like me freedom. Like,
yeah, okay, fair enough.
Everyone has a Microsoft account. I feel like. I think it's more just a case of people complaining because of the inconvenience. And of course, yes, it was very inconvenient. It was very annoying to have it migrated. But it's like you've covered before. They were very lenient to the point where you could have passed the migration date by months.
Still,
and you could still get your account back.
Still,
yeah, you could still do it now. They still haven't shut down that service.
Yeah, well, they did, but you just have to like email the support. Hey, I didn't do the migration. I just noticed, like, there are people who are not on the internet. There are grandpas, and they just like, oh, let me boot up the old Minecraft again.
In the community at all. And, like, they've only just found out that, hey, my account has gone. Because at the end of the day, it is sort of unfair that, hey, you've lost your account because you didn't do a migration because you weren't involved with it at the time. And I think Microsoft also kind of realizes that, but they have to be stern with their wording and say, hey, you're going to lose your account.
Well, this is Mojang still doing that. Yeah. So,
yeah, but what is the point of saying that? Because if you don't
enforce it,
if you don't give a punishment,
well,
you don't say you give a punishment. It's like when you're punishing a kid, you say like, oh, you're gonna go like lose your toys and you're gonna lose your like computer privileges unless you do it. And it's like they do this thing and then you're not as like you give them like the worst case punishment because you're trying to like trick them a little bit, but then you never actually kind of go through with it.
Yeah, that is. I don't think punishment is the right word.
The mum threatening to call the police on the child, sort of thing, where it's the most. It would never happen. So, but it's so annoying to see people argue that, hey, Microsoft is like oh, Microsoft's anti-consumer. Microsoft doesn't care about this game. Oh, the developers don't care about the game. And it's like, yeah, of course it would be nice to have
Well,
some more communication with the developers. But then when they do develop, y'all go after them and like scream and shout at them. Like that guy who was like posting on Twitter about how I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was one of the devs. And he had to like delete all of his
oh yeah,
tweets
King
and like
Boys. Yeah.
yeah, at the end of the
King
day,
Bog, sorry.
he became a martyr for the like studio just by being the first person to speak up and saying, "Hey, we do care." People don't care about that. They don't care about the message. They just want a target to throw out.
Well,
That's all it was.
I'm gonna be like straight because you said Microsoft. Microsoft is just very anti-consumer, but Mojang isn't.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So King Box indeed is a good example of people getting the information that they want. They get communication and they get angry because it's not the information that they want. They didn't get, oh yeah, it's Microsoft that makes us do all this shit. They didn't get that. We got a lot of tech debt from constantly pushing out updates without regard of future planning, which they are now. I think from 1.16 we saw a huge push from Mojang to like fix their old backend. But you gotta remember, 15 years. There's been like 10 years of that. Just no fixes. Just like building on top of spaghetti. It is spaghetti on spaghetti on spaghetti, till the point that it's so much spaghetti, even an Italian would think it's a little bit too much. You know what I mean? Like it's not. There's no sauce. There's no sauce anymore. It's just all just pasta. It's all spaghetti. It's flying and it's doing weird stuff. You know what I mean? Like changing a variable in the internals of Minecraft will change 6 things that it shouldn't.
It'll break like some like villager pathing or like
Yeah.
structure generation. And to be fair, they did kind of suffer for that tech like the for the problems that they were sort of piling over when it came to caves and cliffs, because you got to keep in mind as well that it got delayed by a year. The actual biome and generation changes all got delayed because of just how broken it was and just how not ready it was for
And
release.
and
And they
as
sucked it up and said, "Hey, we made a mistake. We gave you a release date when we couldn't deliver on it. Instead of giving you a bad product that we aren't happy with, we're going to delay the update. We're going to give you the blocks and the new tools to and the new like toys to play with, but the tools are going to come later on."
Yep, exactly. Which was the right thing to do. Get the things that you already know that work and get that out of the door as an apology, and then keep your heads down, work it out. Also remember that I lost my point. Anyway, it was a very good thing to do. Also, no, while I was talking, this was mid like pandemic as well.
Yeah.
So they had to
So
shut
people
down.
working from home, nothing was normal.
Yes, and people were burning out very hard from all this stuff. So they also delayed it to give people more time. They didn't want to crunch because Mojang doesn't crunch. And as someone who works, as someone who is a blue collar worker, I can appreciate a employer who cares about their employees, who doesn't see them as like throwable, replaceable human puppets that they can control. Because that Mojang cares so much. Like, look at their Glassdoor reviews. That's like a website where you can like see how well a
Yeah, it's
company
like Rate My
is.
Professor.
Exactly.
But for like
What?
employers.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's Rate My Professor for employers. Like
We never had that, but I guess we should.
we don't either, but it's just a thing.
Okay,
I just know it.
America.
Yeah.
But it's look at their Glassdoor reviews. They're very good to work with. I haven't had like there was okay. So I watched this one video of like one I think ex-employee shitting on Microsoft, but it was very obvious that they were very disgruntled with Mojang. Like I think something happened that they weren't happy with, and they left. And then this is all speculation, but his entire video was also speculation, so fuck you. I'm not gonna name names, but I commented on that video saying like, so the entire video is Microsoft is ruining Minecraft, and the only thing that you used was tweets from an ex-employee that's obviously disgruntled, and you use that words as fact, right? That is the only exception that I know of of an employee not being satisfied with Mojang.
And you said they were shitting on Microsoft, not Mojang,
Well, yeah,
where it's
they
like,
were
yeah,
fueling
oh
the stuff already being
yeah,
discussed right now.
because it's like is it even a case of like working like Mojang has a boss as well, and it's I wouldn't be surprised if they negotiated some sort of deal where Mojang has a majority saying like how things are run, which is a lot better for the studio compared to like some of the other studios that Microsoft has been recently purchasing and shutting down.
Yep.
But so they probably got lucky with that sort of dealing as well, because that was like when Microsoft was just first starting to buy studios. So they didn't really have much saying power, I'd assume anyway. But with the way the studios run, I don't think Microsoft really has a say in that. I think it's always going to be and always has been Mojang saying, "Hey, you're going to treat people with respect, and we're going to make good products." And at the end of the day, that's what happened. Caves and Cliffs was one of the better updates
It
we've
was.
gotten recently, especially with how good the new generation is. Granted, the performance is a little bit iffy, but that's more Java, I'd say, than
Nah, it's not
the
Java at
coding.
this point. It's actually their coding. Jeb's code when he took over from Notch wasn't that good because Jeb is more a designer more than a programmer, and he had to step in. A lot of his code has already been like redone. The lighting engine, for example, that was totally
The
redone.
lighting engine is really good now, actually.
Did you see the tweets from Iris Shaders where Mojang just out of the blue for
Yeah, they
1.20.6
changed the light indexing, wasn't it?
in the entire fucking thing out of
Everything's
nowhere,
broken.
like nowhere did they say they were gonna do
They
this.
pulled the wrong Jenga piece and everything is fallen. And it's like the menus are broken now, and it's like, what's going on with how did the
Yeah,
menus broken?
yeah, I
And it's
think
not
one
just
of the,
like it's not like the placement of the buttons. It's like the text is just gone now, and it's just
yeah,
blank buttons. And it's
it's
like,
very
how have
fucking
you done
funny.
that?
It's very
How
fucking
did this
funny.
happen?
But I have noticed a substantial increase in FPS since that update. Like
Yeah,
the new,
it's been getting better. It has been getting way better.
they got the new Java version as well,
Yeah.
which isn't necessarily indicative of performance. It will, because they have the new version of generational garbage collection, which for you I know is Chinese at this point. But it's
But it
basically
works better on the newer hardware.
it's like okay, your 1997 Dodge is the same car as a new Dodge, like of the same model, but it has a newer engine in it.
Yeah.
Like it works slightly better. It's like it's got
The
more
engine's more
comfort.
efficient. It does the same thing, but it does the thing quicker.
Well, not only that, it has like your old one doesn't have Bluetooth. It's like this old radio, and the new one has like Bluetooth and like a backdoor camera where you can look like
Bluetooth has popcorn maker. It's got like
yeah,
all
it's
these
a
unnecessary
popcorn
features you
maker.
don't need. Like
No, I mean Bluetooth.
it was your
Dude,
personal assistant that wakes you up in the morning.
how much do you drive? How much do you drive? Because if you don't drive a car with Bluetooth,
I don't have a car.
oh
I
yeah,
can't
right.
drive.
Oh yeah, right. I
I
forgot
walk.
about that. Okay, so Bluetooth is an essential part of your car. Trust me, because if you want to jam out to like Avril Lavigne at like 4 in the morning,
The essentials, music.
yeah,
That's essential.
yeah, it's essential. No, it's actually essential, dude. Nothing beats going to work like having Scatman John on the radio. Trust me, you get in there. This is a tip for everyone, right? If you're ever struggling in life, fucking put on Quiet Desperation from Scatman John. I'm not joking. I know the entire album by my heart. It's
Just like
it's a,
sitting there in the car, going like,
literally like that we were like me and my girlfriend were like arriving at like a crossing and like it was red and I like beep pop up. I was going like this, she was going like this, and the guy next to us like it was like what the fuck.
He doesn't get the vision. That's his problem. Not yours.
Keep in mind,
Like,
I'll put up a picture of my girlfriend's car. It has like a sticker of an anime girl on the side and like fur on the
God.
wheel and like Hello Kitty plastered all over it. So yeah, it was quite the sight.
the banging secondhand car.
Yes, it was. Yes, actually, yes, it is.
And of course, it's interesting as well because like you're saying like, oh, it's important for Bluetooth, like the music. You now got the older cars where it's like the only option was like, oh, getting a Spotify car thing. Yeah, that's dead now. I love useless pieces of plastic oh, we don't want to support this anymore. Oh well, sucks. You're just gonna have to throw away. Hey, take some free Spotify premium months on us.
That's the thing with Mojang again. They still
Yeah.
support Java. They do
Exactly, and
throw
you
away.
wonder why it's such like a big deal for like a company is like, oh yeah, no, we're just gonna keep updating the game you know and love for 15 years, and it's great. When you got literal products that are only out for a couple of years, and they just decided, yeah, we don't want to update it anymore. Yeah, it's just it's paperweight now. It's landfill.
Overwatch was birth and died.
Yeah.
Overwatch was birth
Overwatch
and died while
is-
Minecraft was being done. League of Legends is still going on, but they just released a what was it, $500 fucking dollar skin?
$500 skin. They're trying to
$500
they do a
skin.
layoff earlier in the year, be like, oh, you know, we need to maximize profits. Oh, they cut off their like publishing agency for indie games. They kill one of their games off and like stop development on it. And now they're like, oh, you know, we need to make more money. Pump out a $500 skin. It's like,
You know what?
nothing is owed to you as a consumer anymore. If you buy a product, you must keep in mind that you are not deserving of the treatment you get. If the developer updates the game the next day, count your lucky stars, get in your hands and knees and pray to the gods because you've been blessed today. Like it's actually kind of despicable now how bad it's getting with like games just being like thrown around and like stop developing, and it's, you know, you can't buy these old games anymore unless you're like buying a remake that barely changes anything. It's like full price. I don't want to go like full doomer mode because I'm not like that, but it's just honestly astounding that Microsoft and Mojang still continue to update the game,
It
because
is.
they could have stopped updating after the full release of the game at the first Minecon, when they flipped down the lever and Notch like, you know, got all excited and then back. They were like,
That's it. I'm gonna leave my mansion now. Goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. He could have lived in his mansion on the hilltops and like never came out again. But instead, he updated the game, sold off the company, then went and lived in his mansion and never came out again. So
and then
you got your updates.
I think he comes out just for like hookers and coke. But
I think he's been updating people on like him developing a new game.
he's making
like
a new game.
voxel. We've gone from just like one voxel to like lots of voxels in a model. It's interesting.
Imagine if that game takes off, then we know this guy's like an alien.
He's not a one-hit wonder.
It's not no. Well, they did mention Notch in the 15 years, which was also like a little bit odd.
That was very surprising. I didn't think they would do so.
They showed him and they talked about him, which something that they haven't done since the acquisition.
It's like that family member where it's like you kind of just like can't avoid the topic at this point. You're like, you need to talk about it. It's like, yeah, this is what happened to your uncle. He's like in prison exactly. Right now. He did a bit of a robbery. Like, it's cool, it's fine, but it's great because you grew up with a loving family. It's like it's quite surprising they actually did.
It's like your grandpa stabbing someone, and then everybody has to like explain why grandpa can't be at the wedding.
Not just a great developer and made an amazing game that we all love, but he's still a little bit of a piece of shit. Just a little bit, maybe a lot, but like that's not for me to decide really.
But like when they said like they mentioned why he sold it off, but they like converted it a little bit, because again they can't really mention Notch because he has said some very weird stuff. Like I don't like
mentioning Notch acknowledges what he says, which in a advertiser sense could be seen as them promoting it, because at the end of the day, any publicity is good publicity. If someone does something bad, you're tweeting about it and be like, hey, this guy's bad, you're just giving him numbers. That's all you're doing.
But they did acknowledge the reason by saying, like, imagine being scrutinized by 1 million people who all think they have a personal connection with you, who you like. They emphasized throughout like that section that they loved talking to community. They loved it.
They were scared though. They were very scared.
They were scared because they were scared when the acquisition happened, because they didn't know.
They're still scared now, to be fair.
They're scared to talk to the community. Like, look what happens. Look what happens when they talk. Like, when they do stuff. Have you seen the chat during Minecraft Live? It was a mess. It was a mess.
It's awful. It's just people spamming, complaining,
like
crying.
It was worse than the Eurovision.
Farting. Like, It's
Probably
awful.
the other stuff as well. But like, have you seen the face of what's her name? I think it's Anya or something. The girl that did like the bees announcement, like the very cute Swedish girl. Uh, I don't know what her name is. Like blonde hair. Does all the announcement stuff.
Yeah.
Fuck. She literally cried when they had to like say like, yeah, I'm sorry, we're not gonna give you the update this time. These people are passionate, man. Because the updates, you can't deny that the updates that they do give are full of like flair. Because they have personality. Because these are things that the developers themselves want in, mixed with what the people
It's
are.
what the developers play. These aren't just
Yeah.
like faceless developers. They are gamers too. They play the same game you do in different ways, and they have like a whole like they were talking about it how like some of the developers just like adventuring and walking around, and that's why they added more structures and more treasures you can find, and that's probably what inspired the archaeology stuff that they've been doing. And you got
Yeah.
some people that are just builders, which is why they've been adding more wood types and more block variants, and all that interesting stuff for the builders like me that I get to play around with. Like and the combat people, there's like when they made the combat update, they did it because they wanted to add some more variety to the combat in the game. They
Yeah.
didn't do it because they wanted to fuck up the combat. Like it didn't go well. The update didn't go over well with people, but they didn't do it out of spite. They were just trying to do something cool that they thought the community liked and would like, and it just didn't land.
Not only that, people keep saying like, "Oh, I get comments like, yo, Mojang should make their own mod loader. Mojang should make their own mod loader." My dude, have you seen what they've been doing to data packs? They are, and the other issue is because they said they promised a mod loader, right? Because they said at one point they were going to try and make one. Same with the Red Dragon, that rumor that Eve was talking about. Some people see that as a promise. Everything Mojang says, people will take as a promise. Yeah. If they say we will add I don't know, we will add cars to Minecraft, right? Even if it's like a comment like, oh yeah, we'll definitely add cars. Like even laughing, some people will take that.
People take it seriously because they like it's out of passion, but it's also just like it isn't helpful. And like you said about the data packs being mods, I'm sure internally they do call them mods, but if they turn around and say, hey, data packs are mods for the game, the first reaction is going to be, oh, these are mods. Mods are stuff like Allspawn and Create and all of these like other huge mods that completely just like rewrite the game. And that's like, that's not the point of data packs. Data packs in itself are mods, but it's not what the community considers mods. Therefore, they can't call them that. Like data packs, you can still do a huge amount of stuff with new structures, new biomes, and like new models you got with Blockbench, and they just added sounds now as well. You can add your own custom sounds and music and stuff, and it's awesome, and there's a lot you could do with data packs. But of course, it's never going to be the same as like Forge mods and like Fabric mods and Quill and NeoForge and all these other mod loaders that like come and go as quick as, I don't know, updates. But it's at the end of the day, people want the stars, the moon, and the sun.
And then
but the developers could
still...
already bring the stars sometimes. Like they can't bring everything that everyone wants.
Even then, they won't be happy.
But the developers will sure as hell try to bring everything. But at the end of the day, they're just a group of people. They're not the infinite wisdom of the Minecraft community. And you got so many different developers that collaborate and like work and stuff. It's like you could have like one person's name on a mod. But is it really just one person's work, or is it the hundreds and hundreds of people that collaborate and share knowledge and wisdom?
Yeah, because don't forget, you're working on a framework. If you're making a mod, you're already working on a framework that's provided by either the mod loader themselves or Minecraft in some cases. It's already, you're building on top of a foundation instead of laying that foundation, having to like work with other systems at the same time. Unless you're doing a mod that's really, really intrusive, which then you need to hard code it in because you can't do that with Forge.
They used to.
Like they used to. You can't do that with Forge, but Forge is very like stuff like hard changing stuff you can't do with Fabric that much because it's mixins. But with Forge, you can actually still, and NeoForge to an extent, You can actually still do very intrusive modding, but it's still not the same because you're still using a framework. You're still building on top. Mojang has to lay the foundation to be built on top of. And even then, if a mod uses another library or another mod loader, it's still using, like you said, the knowledge of other people. Like if you're following a tutorial, you're still using knowledge. You're still that's someone giving you that knowledge to make it. Mojang doesn't have that. Mojang has to sit there on the drawing board, has like 16 different systems that interact with one thing, and they need to figure out how to go and without ruining any of the past updates. Because how many games update something to ruin the rest?
Yeah.
Like to make something else pointless. To make make a sword that is 10 times better. Like the netherite sword, it didn't make the diamond sword like pointless, right?
Yeah. There's a natural progression system. You use those diamond tools to make netherite tools. That was ingenious. That was actually a really good design because it doesn't invalidate everything else that the player works for. Each update adds on to previous updates, and of course people find that a little discouraging when they add stuff half-baked in the very beginning. But as the updates get more and more fleshed out, the features get better. Like for example, when they first did the first ocean update, they added the ocean monument. Yeah, the ocean monument was great, but everything else around it wasn't really that fleshed out. Sponges were kind of mid. The prismarine stuff was pretty cool, but it didn't really have any other use apart from the prismarine. And the way to actually find these ocean monuments was just kind of like generic and didn't really flow well with the game. There wasn't really a reason to explore the ocean apart from, hey, there's an ocean monument, let me go to there. Oh, okay, let me go back. Then it did the update aquatic, brand new ocean biomes, multiple warmth levels. You got fishes, you have coral, you got all the new water mechanics with the bubble columns and like all of that stuff, and it way more fleshed out. Granted, it would have been nice if that also came with the ocean monument came with all that stuff, but it's just the way the game has always been updated, where features come out pretty good but are a little bit half-baked, but then continuously get better and better as time goes on. It's just the way they've sort of always made the game. It's always sort of been like this, where it's like villages when they first came out were very half-baked.
Oh yeah,
and now they're amazing. They're really good.
They're good. There will be obviously the example someone will bring up of one thing that Mojang didn't do well. There will always be that. I'm not saying Mojang is some perfect company. Like, we still have the GTM situation where they send a takedown to a server that had guns in it, but then their Bedrock version sells guns. You know, like there are situations where Mojang isn't perfect, and I've mentioned that before, but they aren't bad. They just grew up. They're not Mojang that they used to be. They're not an indie company anymore. They could have just said, we're not listening to you anymore, and we're just doing our own stuff. They are listening to you. But yeah, I mean, like a good example, the Drowned showed this, like not like literally in this conversation. We had this Twitter post going through every update from Minecraft themselves. People keep saying like updates keep being shit. There are like 2 or 3 updates. Like the bees update was not that great. I'll put it on the screen.
Yeah.
There's so much good shit in here. Like the blocks keep expanding. There are good stuff that they bring out. And these are just gameplay additions. If you look at like code stuff that they added, it's nuts.
You're never going to see that stuff.
No, because
that's not for the player to look in. That's all a bunch of background stuff that is improving the experience every single time, but you're just never going to consider. Because that's the way it's designed.
Things. It's the small things that you don't notice that are the most important sometimes. You know, like if you come home and your wife cooks you dinner, not because you asked her to, but because she loves you. That is something small. That's something you don't really expect or look at, but that's a nice thing. If your car like just has a system that improves steering ever so slightly, you're gonna notice it if you go to another car and it doesn't have that. It's the small things that make a huge difference sometimes, and these are the things that nobody's talking about because they're at the bottom of those updates. And the only thing that like YouTubers talk about and big content creators and people look at, rightfully so, because you just want to play, you're not here to code, are those things, but you don't look at the details. So before you actually say like Mojang isn't doing anything, Mojang is lazy, look at the full picture instead of just looking at what people tell you, because it's always the same arguments, and that is because some people say this as like the gospel, and everybody believes it, and it's really frustrating. It's really, really frustrating being the like in the space as a Minecraft YouTuber and having to constantly get like comments saying stuff like the same thing over and over and over again. It gets frustrating to a point. I
And
can't
it's sad
imagine being
when
Mojang.
yeah, and it's sad when this public opinion is like pretty much the only one that's widely accepted. Where it's like developers, when you see when these developers spend their entire working day working on this brand new update for you, adding all of this really cool new features like modeling, programming, make sure it all works and functions with the AI and interacts with every other mob and every other like little feature in the game, and they release it, and people just complain and be like, "Oh no, but this update added this much, and this update added this much," and it's just people complaining, calling developers lazy. How do you think they feel when they log online and they see that stuff? It's the reason why we don't get that communication anymore,
Yep.
because only when one person talks, everyone targets their hate, and there is it is hate. I was trying to think of a different word, but it is just straight hate at that one person. They're not looking for an answer, they're looking for a target.
Well,
That's all they're looking for.
to be fair, hate and love are two sides of the same coin. It's very easy to get angry because you are passionate. Like that happens with me all the time. I'm very passionate about my stuff. That's why I get angry about it. If because to a certain point, these people still love Minecraft, but they love a version of Minecraft that's in their head, and they don't like the version that they get. But that is where modding comes in, and then they get the image of modding. Mods can do it better, and it's a whole mess. Obviously, again, this has been a very like Mojang positive podcast.
Yeah.
Like we are just like pushing back a little bit, obviously, like because we only see the black, right? I think we wanted to show like a little bit of the light.
There's
I
a
think
there is a spectrum of colors. There's not just black and white all the
exactly.
time. And people also need to realize that Minecraft has transcended just the game. It's now an idea. It's an IP. We got a movie come. We got multiple different games,
Oh yeah,
multiple
the
different
movie.
genres. You've got an entire modding community. You got an entire server community. You got an entire like community making data packs and actually making money off the game now. It's transcended just past that simple cave game demo that got released 15 years back, and it was like it's wonderful to see, and the community is just insanely passionate. That's the best way to describe it. Is the community just oozes passion. The amount of stuff that still gets added to this day to a 15-year-old game is incredible,
Nuts.
and is understandable how people can get upset and lash out quite quickly at the developers that they feel like they could be doing better. And it's not really for me to say whether they could be doing better or not, because at the end of the day, I'm not a developer. I don't see
Yeah,
what goes on in the background,
we don't know
but
what's
I
happening.
can very clearly see the love and the passion that's still within that game, within the community and with developers, and within maybe even the publisher itself. Microsoft still obviously cares about the franchise. It's why they're doing so much and they're greenlighting so much for the game. They could very easily have said, hey, yeah, no, you're not making Minecraft Legends. It's not going to make enough money. You're not making Minecraft Dungeons. It's not going to make enough money. Hell, the movie might not even do that well, but they're still greenlighting these projects because they love the game. And
I don't
I
think it's more love the game. They just want to like use their IP a little bit.
Yeah. Well, they love the IP. You can love the money around the IP, but that money is still part of that IP.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
You there's a lot of features of Minecraft, and money is just one of the many things there. It's also the prestige, and it's the brand, and it's the people around it. You got a lot of creative people within the Minecraft community that Microsoft can utilize. That's just a fact. There's always going to be a business decision behind taking these sort of deals on. But overall, I feel like the community's hate needs to start moving towards support and positivity, because while you're trying to tear something down, there's always something else that's still building up, and the amount of support behind that build up is not the same as the amount of hate as that
Yeah.
pull down. That needs to be evened out, probably even pushed up more. There always needs to be, and that doesn't mean like don't criticize bad decisions.
No.
There's a lot of bad decisions
Oh,
that
yeah.
Mojang makes. The mob vote is one thing, but there's a difference between saying, hey, the mob vote is not a great idea, there is a lot of problems with it, to then being like, oh, developers, you suck, you lazy, why don't you just add all the mobs?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
such an easy thing to do. All these developers and modders can add it all in 15 nanoseconds. Yeah, they probably could, but there's no point screaming and shouting at developers that probably want to do that. There's probably a lot of reasons why they can't do that, but it's out of that programmer's control, out of that modeler's control, out of that concept artist's control. And
Even
there's
leadership
there's a
sometimes.
bigger picture that just isn't looked at, really.
Yeah, there are, like, we sometimes forget that it is okay to be critical. We are raised to think critically. Nowadays, kids are raised to be thinking critically, but it often turns into cynicalism, where everything, this is what people can see as doomerism, like everything gets bad, everything is the worst decision, everything is done with the intent to screw you over, that kind of stuff. But we often forget that while we are getting 1.21 right now, Mojang could very well be in the planning stages for 1.25. You know, like, there are, maybe the mob vote is like a mob vote that they had planned a year ago, and then they do the mob vote. They have them like in the concept stages, and then they're just like, okay, we can only implement one of these for this update. Which one is going to be? They give it to the community. I personally don't think it's a bad idea. It's just implemented very badly, and the communication around it is bad. But instead of being this negative Nancy, destroying, like, it is still your favorite game, right? You like, if you ever complain about Microsoft or Mojang or whatever, that's fine. You can, but
Means
maybe,
you're passionate.
yeah, it means you're passionate. It's good. It's like, you're good. It's good that you're passionate. The problem stems that you are, if you convey in the typical, oh, modders can do this, oh, blah blah blah, this, that, and that, you're just adding a negative voice to an already negative sea, and then it keeps spiraling. Instead of, like Drown said, tearing shit down, you could build up the stuff yourself. Learn how to mod. If you want something in the game, learn to pick up a modding tool. Learn it. Or even now, like, Blockbench is created by Mojang. You can use that to make models if you want. If you want to put those things in, recreate it in Blockbench. Learn how to simply mod a mob in. Bada bing, bada boom. You had a nice little project about a game that you're passionate about, and you learned a new skill. That is the positive thing, right? What if you keep complaining? The only thing that you do is you made yourself angry and lost that time complaining on a game that you'll never get back anymore, and you didn't learn anything. You just spent 5 minutes ranting about a game online, and you didn't learn anything productive.
Exactly. There's a certain threshold between caring too much to the point where that just breeds negativity, and that needs to be toned down a little bit. Like, don't want to like gatekeep gaslight girl boss like the community and be like, oh, you need to like stop caring, because at the end of the day, caring is great. Caring is what gets those developers out of bed in the first place and gets them actually developing your next favorite update. All that love and support is what keeps these developers going, and that needs to continue to happen. And
Yes.
what needs to stop is the negativity and the, oh, Microsoft is awful, oh, this mod loader is terrible, oh, Microsoft needs to start supporting mods, oh, all of this, negativity stuff. It instead of bringing down things you don't like, raise up things you like. That's the moral of the day, really.
I think this entire podcast can be summed up with a simple thing. Minecraft has turned 15. We've, as like any 15-year-old, it's going through a very, very odd phase right now. I think we as a community just need to give it some good advice instead of beating the shit out of it. Anyway, I was Lunar. This was Drowned.
Hello.
Hello.
I don't know. I don't know. Yes,
Well, we're still
this
figuring
is
it out.
drowned.
This is the first
Yeah,
fucking episode,
it's
man.
gonna
Like,
be two white guys who think their opinion matters.
yeah,
on a
exactly,
podcast.
exactly. I mean, our opinion matters, but to us, you know, like,
Does it know?
does he know?
Does it know?
Thank you for the 5 people watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye bye.